Hey, hey, oh my God, step in the room, step in the room, step in the room. How are you? I'm so happy you guys here. Today, we're going to talk about fool's gold. Yes, girl, fool's gold. Honey, you know them relationships you get into, and everything in the beginning seems like a fairy tale come true. Oh my goodness. I mean, they're hitting all the markers, and then some of them who don't hit the markers, they throw you a couple of red flags, but everything else is so good, so you ignore the red flags. Get in here. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. So, how do we not get fooled by fool's gold? How do we not fall in love with something we think is absolutely spectacular, shiny, and we want to indulge? My mama used to always tell me, Karen, honey, everything that glitters is not gold. And I really didn't understand that until I got my heart broken by a narcissist, and then got into another relationship with another narcissist. But guess what? Each of those relationships, I am so grateful and thankful for, because each of those relationships taught me the power of me. I never had self-confidence before. I never knew the value of myself. Have you asked that question to yourself? How much are you worth? Just think about that. How much are you really worth? Are you worth the deception? Are you worth the manipulation? Are you worth the lies? No, you're not. But when you're in it, you can't see the trees for the fog. You can't see your value, because you're in a fight or flight mode, because your adrenal glands have been activated, because you don't know what's going on. It's almost like you're under a spell. It's almost like something's wrong, but you can't really put your finger on it, so you can't identify it. And when you can't identify it, and especially with the manipulation and the gaslighting, you ask yourself, am I crazy? Am I tripping? Because and it's almost like in my classes, my healing classes, I refer to it as almost being like a drug addict, because during the times you're in a relationship and you know it's toxic, but you can't let go, and when it does separate for a minute, all you do is think about getting it back together. You're looking for that first high. You're looking for that first hit. But when that first hit was an illusion all along, you never get it. You know it's there, so you're looking for it because you know it's there. You remember the times you had the most amazing times together. You're wanting that back. You know who this person has the potential to be. But let me explain something to you. That particular time when that person was demonstrating how amazing they were only reflecting you. They were only showing you a reflection of what you was giving them, not what was naturally and true to their heart. This is why after so much time, a couple of months, and sometimes even some of you guys go through situations that's quicker than that, the mask comes off. You see the real person for who they are, and they can never get back to who they are, but you're wanting them to get back. And all you're feeding off of is your emotions for them to get back to that person. And that person never really existed. That's why they can't maintain it. That's why they can never get back to it. But one of the most amazing things that could have ever happened to you is for you to have gone through it, So guess what? You can finally heal because the trauma bond, the manipulation, the gaslighting, all of that stuff never would have happened unless you allowed it. This is not a beat me up session, but this is just a session to make you aware that all of these things that someone else, your narcissist or whatever you want to call it, your mate, your failed relationship, all of these things you allowed. You. So you have to go back and research in yourself, which should be a part of your shadow work and your healing journey or your healing process. Why did you allow it? What was void in you to really have love served to you from a garbage can top and you ate from it? That's when you really know you're truly trying to heal, when you really understand those things, or you start asking yourself those questions. Because those questions are very valid. And whenever you're going into a healing, and I tell people, the women in my class that I'm so proud of this, that's healed themselves. In the beginning, it was rough because in the beginning of their healing journey, they would always say what he did. And he did this to me. And I did this. And he did this. And when you start the conversation with what he did, you're nowhere near healing. Because again, he only did what you allowed him. So when you start the conversation with, I allowed, you're letting me know that you're ready for healing. You're ready to learn and heal. And that process can be a long journey. No one can put a cap on when you're healed. So take your time. Don't be in such of a rush to heal. And whatever you do, it is definitely not the time to get into another relationship. When you have been having relationships, you're transferring DNA, you're transferring data to each other. When you lay down and you guys copulate, you're transferring data. You're getting his energy, he's getting your energy, you're transferring information to him, he's eating the information and transferring information to you. Sometimes it can take, usually women, 10 to 20 years to get that data and that information out of your system. A very long time. This is why when you see couples that have been together for a long time, they begin to look like each other because they are transmuting DNA. So take your time with your healing, because if not, you're just going to go right back into another relationship that's going to be numbing the pain in the beginning, but unmask itself as an identical twin of the relationship you just got out of. The healing has to start with you. And I'm going to tell you something, when you truly heal, when you really healed, you will love the journey. You will love what happened to you, because if it wasn't for what happened to you, you would have never known you need healing. Trauma bonding doesn't start with the person that did it to you. Trauma bonding started long before he came in. And if you look back at your last relationships before the last relationship, even if it's a friendship, even if it's sometimes with your parents, you trauma bonded with them. Most of your issues and your problems had nothing to do with the narcissist. Absolutely nothing. And I know you hate to hear that, because a lot of times, and especially on YouTube, you find all these victim modes. I mean, you can only watch so many of those. And let me tell you about watching so many of those videos in the beginning, when you don't know what has happened to you, like you just really trying to figure answers out. Because when you get hit with a narcissist, you really don't know what happened to you. You're like, what did I just come through? Why was he like that? What the hell was going on? You really start searching for answers. And a lot of times you run up on YouTube videos and they can be so scary because they be spot on When you really find out what a narcissist is, you can identify and relate. It feels amazing because the whole time you have been screaming, red alert, red alert, red alert. Remember that old movie, Red Alert Will, Red Alert Will is a space movie out. But anyway, you have been getting the red flags and didn't know what they were, didn't know what you were up against, and didn't know the dynamics of what you were involved in. And when you see that and you can finally identify that, it feels amazing. So you watch video after video after video after video, and you're gathering data because it's familiar. You're like, damn, I went through that. And you be trying to explain it to people and they have no idea what you're talking about. They don't know. I remember telling my sister one time, bless her heart, I didn't know either at this time. I just knew that, and this was in my marriage for 17 years. So I knew that I just wasn't happy. I didn't know why I wasn't happy because I couldn't put my finger on the fact that I was not getting emotionally fed. None of my emotions were getting reciprocated to me, and I was being drained, sucked dry. I had no idea this was occurring. I just knew that I wasn't happy. But because my ex-husband provided me with everything I could ever want, houses, cars, traveling, and we did business together. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, so we made a lot of money together. And I used to always have to make the distinction with people that he doesn't take care of me. I helped produce this, which I did most of the work. Because if you've ever been with a narcissist, they love to claim the power and the glory and don't do any of the work and leave you, people thinking that you're just, oh, she's just the one. So, and I remember telling my sister one day, I'm just not happy. I don't know what it is. I'm just not happy. At least I'm not happy. And I never forget how my sister looked at me and she was like, are you crazy? You have a house. It's not beating on you. So we have to understand that mental abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. And just because he's not physically beating on you, to me, the mental abuse is way worse, because the physical abuse, you got a bruise, you can get over it. Not that physical abuse is good. I'm no way trying to advocate that. But I'm just saying the games, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the walking on eggshells. I remember every day when my husband would pull up in the driveway and I could hear his car coming, the whole energy, my whole energy, everything in the house would shift. And it was almost like, you didn't know how the day was going to go, or what he was going to say, or what was going to happen. So you always walked on eggshells. You never get to explain your side of the story or get your emotional needs met. It's just not going to happen. But because you don't know what's happening to you, you're trying 150 million different ways to get your emotional needs fed. And when that happens, you're in your fight or flight mode. Guys, you got to know how important this is. Because when you're in your fight or flight mode, your adrenaline glands are just overloaded. It causes diabetes. It causes heart attack. It causes autoimmune disease. It causes your body to wreak havoc because the whole time you're trying to keep calm on the outside, but on the inside, you're paddling like a duck. And it takes its toll on you. And I remember my sister looking at me like I was just plumb crazy. What the heck? She looked at me that way. I even thought I was crazy, right? I was like, oh, never mind. So I pulled back and stayed another 5 years. Until the fact when I was 280 pounds and just sitting there eating in front of the TV, killing myself. Because you didn't figure out a way to self-medicate. And then the ultimate happened, because many times, as you know, when you're in a narcissist relationship, you don't get out until you get discarded. You don't leave until you get discarded. You get thrown away like an old raggedy shoe on a winter's day that the soul has done come off of, and ain't nothing you can do with it, because that's what it feels like. Your soul has been just drained from your body. And then the whole time, you as an empathic person or a very loving person has given this person all of your energy. So you're sitting there looking dumbfounded like, well, what happened? Where'd he go? And then you're addicted. You're trauma bonded. And every time you go back, because I went back, every time you go back, the discard gets worse and worse and worse and worse, because they're not able to keep that mask on, and they know you've seen them for what they are. And a lot of times, 99.9% of the time, the only reason they come back is to get revenge, to wreak havoc, because they're like, okay, I didn't kill you good enough the first time. You want to come back? You want more, you dumb person. So they play the little cat and mouse game with you and hold the carrot, dangle the carrot in front of you until they can execute their mark again, precise. And this time, really taking its toll on you harder than the time before. So by the time you leave, you got all type of ailments, you've got health problems, you've gained weight, you don't even love yourself. You look in the mirror and you don't even recognize who the hell you are. So now it's time to heal. And, you know, I was talking about the videos that we watch over and over and over and over on YouTube. And I understand it in the beginning, but it's at a point that you got to cut those videos loose. I don't advocate watching those videos more than a week, really, just to get to know what it is that you just went through and just kind of, you know, get an introduction to it. Because once you watch those videos over and over and over again, let me tell you what happened. In your eyes, you're seeing your whole life or the whole situation you went through with this narcissist replaying in your mind over and over again. Yes, watch them to process what happened to you, but at a certain point, you got to cut it off and start healing. And you can't heal if you're continually to open up those wounds, if you're continuing to be in that mental state of mind. That is a very dark place to be in. And when you finish watching those videos, you really don't feel any better, and you can't start your healing until you completely let that go. Just like you blocked, or you go no contact all the way, including researching those videos on what narcissistic personality disorder is. You've already done that. How many videos are you going to watch? Now watch videos on healing. What's your next step in your healing journey? How can you get your trauma needs met? How can you go back and access your mom in a loving and caring way to validate some of the inconsistencies, or to validate some of the neglect, or to validate some of the manipulation, or to validate some of the trauma that was caused from one of your parents, because that's where it really actually begins, and that's where healing begins. Because when you look back at all your relationships, all of them was met with this type of energy. And it's a common denominator, and that comes from your youth. That comes from things that have happened to you as a child. And even as children, we don't really think about situations. We learn to get over them. One of the things that I remember going back in my journey, learning about why I didn't have self-confidence, is because I remember one time I had to be about 8, and my sister maybe had to be about maybe 11 or 12. And we were walking to my mother's job, and her job was just a couple of blocks away from the house, from my grandmother's house. And we actually lived with my grandmother. So seeing my mother was a treat. We always was excited about seeing my mother. It was something we were like just really, really excited about. So, you know, I don't know how we got the okay. I don't know who called who, but my mom wanted us to come up to her job. We were so excited. And y'all, it was summertime. We had to walk probably about 3 blocks. And my mother worked at my Harry Medical College at that time in the dean's office. And we were kids. We didn't know, dean's office. We don't know. We probably had been outside playing all day. And like I said, my grandmother was raising us. So I don't know how I looked. But I remember going into my mom's office and being like, "Mommy," and she was like, she looked and she gave me the total look of disgust. And she was like, "Don't you ever come on my job looking like a client." I don't know what we looked like. I'm sure our hair probably was on our hair. We probably sweating. It was hot, but it was no, "Hi, baby." My love for my mother was met with that harsh, stern opposition, and only the care was how I looked. So then I became very self-conscious about my look, how I look, even as an 8-year-old child, which carried on as an adult. So going back and processing that and knowing that my mother, and understanding that my mother could only deal with me with what she was given to deal with me with, and forgiving her for her limitations that her mom placed on her, because who knows what my grandma was going through. Is true healing. Knowing and understand the dynamics that has made you as a whole is true inner, and what you're reflecting on your children now. Going through that, and that takes time to process. That takes alone. You got to spend a lot of times alone, and not just alone, alone with the television off, with the radio off. You've got to have conversations with yourself. You've got to travel back in your mind to incidents like the one I just gave you to pinpoint where the trauma first started. And then not only pinpoint it, process it. And when I first started my healing journey, I remember telling my mom, "Mom, I'm going through a healing journey so that I don't get into any more of these bad relationships. It has nothing to do with you. It's all me, but you may not hear from me for a couple of days," because I couldn't. My mom's, she's still my mom. She's in my ear and she's talking. "Well, why don't you do this?" And you know how moms are. So I had to completely shut her out for a minute so that I could deal with me. Text me if you need me. If I don't answer, text me. We have to learn how to put our moms on pause. And we have to learn as women how to rebond that relationship. And once I put my mom on pause and I could really just grasp and really get to know exactly what was going on with me, because I could pinpoint it and I could finally think, when I finished the process, it was time to confront my mom. But I always honored my mom. I didn't want to be disrespectful, because that's not going to get me anywhere. So I calmly told my mom, I said, "Mom, I've been doing some spiritual work and I've been just doing some journal about me. And I've got a few questions, Why do me and my sister have this, this hatred thing going on? What is that stemming from? What, caused that?" And, then my mom began to tell me things that she couldn't share with me when I was a child. And as an adult, I understand those things different. I even brought that incident up to her. She had no idea she said that. She was so sorry. She was like, "I'm so sorry." Because I was speaking with my mother instead of talking to my mother. Big difference. I honored her as being my mother for all the things that she done, and my voice was filled with humility. I just needed answers. And a lot of times we put the blame on our parents. Yeah, they have some of it, but you can't put the blame on them when you haven't healed. When you have healed yourself, then you can go and show your mother how to heal. And she's going to see how to heal, because she's going to see the new you. The new amazing you that actually loves yourself genuinely from your heart space. And when you really know you're healing, you will love the narcissist too, for who he is, for where he at, and what he is, but he just can't love you. And you will have a clear understanding that he can't love you for the way he is. The highest frequency on the planet is love. And you wasn't mistaken because you loved someone. You loved him for who he was. Your love was always genuine. It's the reciprocated part that you have to heal from and look back at and be like, wow, because there were really parts of that relationship that you loved about him. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have stayed so long. Bad relationships, we get into those too, and we're like, oh, hell no, I'm out of here. Immediately when it's time to go. So you have to know and understand the key to love is love. But you can't love anyone else until you learn how to love you. And then when you truly get to the essence and the core of true love for yourself, you're not going to let anybody in your circumference that don't really truly love you. And you'll be able to spot the mess. Because when you look back on the red flags, the love language wasn't adding up with what you saw. You were seeing out of rose-colored glasses what you wanted to see. And everything was there just like it was in the end. It was there in the beginning, but you chose not to see it because you were trying to fill a void inside of you from childhood. Whether that void was for someone to tell you how pretty you are, how perfect you are, that narcissist sat there and listened to it and began to feed you with the things that you had already told him you wanted. So he was only reflecting what you said. The most amazing event that you can have as a woman is to love yourself and to get to know yourself. And the only way you can do that is to spend time with yourself. Self-care starts with you. Get the massages. Take the trip on your own. Before my healing journey, I would never go anywhere. I wouldn't go out to eat. I wouldn't go to a restaurant. I would never go anywhere by myself. I was too embarrassed or too afraid. Now I traveled out of the country by myself. I traveled all the way across the country by myself. I take myself out to lavish restaurants. I take myself on trips. I'm about to leave now to go to Florida. And then from Florida, I'm going to the Bahamas and then back to Florida. I'm about by myself. You will truly learn how to truly love yourself. And in this, you will take yourself on one of the most amazing journeys of your life. True love. Once you love yourself from the core, from your heart chakra, you will not be looking for love everywhere else because you're filling your own cup. You're just giving people your overflow now. They're not able to suck your energy out no more because you don't give a damn. And you're not going to stay in anyone's shadow. You're not going to stay in anyone's shadow into the darkest part of them and let them feed you that dark light. You've got to do your shadow work, and shadow work comes with spiritual baths. Getting in courses like the courses I offer, ordering the spiritual baths, learning, watching the video on how to take the spiritual baths. One day I took 4 spiritual baths in one day during my healing journey. Because water is healing. Water is sacred. Water brings out vibrational frequencies because your body is 80% water. So when you speak into the water and you speak into your body, the things and the changes you want and the healing you need, the water has no choice other than to give you what it is that you're asking for. But you have to affirm within yourself the new belief. You have to reprogram yourself that you're not worthless, that you're not trauma bonded. Stop claiming that. You are healing. You are taking this magical journey to heal yourself. So be careful of your words. Words are spells. And I tell my students this all the time. Narcissists just don't pick anybody. They want the cream de la cream, honey. You were the best. But the problem is that you wasn't healed. And that's a beautiful journey. When you really learn that no thing externally can really love you, it all comes from you, like really learn that, because that's a degree. It takes some time to really learn. Because everything else is superficial at first. You're in the state of mind where you're like, yeah, I love myself. No, you really don't. When you can truly be happy, wake up every morning and be like, hello, world, and really just love your space that you're in by yourself without a man, you're on the way to healing. You're on the way to healing. One of the most amazing things you can do. You don't want to keep getting fool's gold. You don't want to keep opening these beautiful, beautiful packages, and them packages can look so beautiful, honey. I know. And then you open this amazing package, and all you have inside is an empty box. Fool's gold. When in fact, you are the gold. You are the high priestess. You are the empress. You make everything move. You give life to power. You are absolutely amazing, but no one else can know this until you know it. And everyone around you is going to treat you to the value you hold yourself at. Fool's gold. All right, guys, I am out of here, and I really hope you enjoy this segment. Subscribe, like, do all those amazing things. Make sure you join my Facebook group, Essential Elements, where we do retreats together, we heal together, we don't take baths together, but we have baths. We have all the tools you need for your healing journey. We talk about journeying, correct breathing techniques, chakra alignment, how to align your chakras to get to your higher self. Guys, have an absolutely amazing day. I love you, and be good to you, because you are all you got.